What's up, everybody? Let's get Lyle in here first before we get things underway. There he is. Okay. Welcome in, everybody. Marine Lair Podcast, Sunday Night Live. What's up, buddy?
People seem excited. The first comment I see when we log on to this thing today is, we're going to the World Series.
Whoa. I thought, are you allowed to be that positive? We tried to be positive in our reaction today, and people didn't take it too well.
Yeah, people said we're shills and lining the pockets of the ownership group.
Well, sorry, I guess we're not. If we were, I thought there'd be at least a little bit of reciprocation back to us, since we're doing such a service to the franchise and the team, that it would line our pockets as well too, and feel like we'd be living a bit of a higher profile lifestyle. But I don't know. I guess not. Welcome in, everybody. Marine Lair Podcast, Sunday Night live here on Instagram and on YouTube every single Sunday night at 7 o'clock Pacific. Make sure to follow us on all of our social media channels at Marine Lair Pod, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Find us Marine Lair Podcast on YouTube. Look for the teal logo. We're here to answer your guys' questions, so feel free to leave us a question in the comment section on both Instagram and on YouTube. Really want us to answer your question. Send us one on YouTube. Send us a super chat, and we'll get to it. How's the ballpark this weekend? Looked empty on Friday, somewhat empty on Friday, but the results were still pretty decent. Enough for some slight good vibes.
Yeah, so it started pretty empty at first pitch on Friday, and I was looking and I was like, uh-oh, are people checked out? People ready to move on to football season? I don't know. Now, it started to fill up as that Friday game went on a little bit more. The Friday crowd wasn't great, but filled up a little bit more as the game went on. Saturday was a little bit better. Crowd was a little bit more filled up, and that may be a result. People were already down in Soto for the Apple Cup, and they decided when it was over, they were like, oh, let's just walk across the street, go to the Mariners game. So Saturday crowd was better, but everybody that showed up to the ballpark this weekend, sans the Thursday game, which I guess isn't really the weekend, got to see some pretty fun baseball because it was 3 straight wins, and now they feel like they've had some momentum swing their way a little bit.
I don't know if we can call anyone back at this point of the season. I think we've used up all of our this X is back at this point, but there were some really, I'd say, wonderful and exciting things watching the series this weekend. So, like, the Mariners obviously handled the Texas Rangers. They had handled them in Seattle earlier this season. Texas is not having a very good season, even though they threw some decent arms out there. The Mariners managed to score some runs. What is it? The last 11 games, the Mariners are first in baseball in runs scored and OPS and some other categories as well, which has been really refreshing. But, man, how fun was that outfield this weekend? How fun is it to have all three of those guys clicking at the same time? Like, we watched these three guys click at the same time, and it looks like the Mariners are having a lot easier time scoring runs and a lot easier time winning baseball games, to which we come around, as always, Lyle, and say, well, what if they just did this for like 3 months in a row? Then we wouldn't be sitting here still like clinging on to whatever tiny bit of hope if they're actually going to make the playoffs or not.
Yeah, this outfield's pretty fun. I wish it had been like this for a lot more of the year. But when those three are hitting, Julio, Randy, Robles, looks a lot different. They didn't even have Cal in there today. Cal got a rare day off, and they exploded offensively today. Mitch Garver, for as tough a season as he's had, he actually does hit left-handed pitching pretty well. All year, that's been the case. He hits lefties pretty well. He did that today. 3-hit game, hit a homer. Did he double? Or he had a couple other hits. But home run, 3 total hits. And, yeah, I mean, they say contagious hitting's contagious for a reason. When you have those 3 guys in the outfield all clicking, looks pretty good. When you got Victor Robles hitting like 400, you got Randy red hot, you got Julio hitting homers, who's pulling the ball for power now.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
We were worried it was never going to
come back, yeah.
Well, for this season at least.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, again, all year, like he's looked off balance and he's chased a lot of breaking balls and he just hasn't been on top of pitches. Like he's hit the ball hard, but on the ground a lot. And finally, like the 2 swings he put on for those home runs, especially the one off Scherzer on Saturday, that looked like the vintage Julio, where it didn't matter that it was a changeup low, borderline in the strike zone. Yeah, it was at like the bottom of the strike zone. And he just absolutely golfs it into the second deck. Like we haven't seen that all year.
Nope. So make sure to send your guys' questions in on the Instagram chat and the YouTube chat. Appreciate super chats as well on YouTube. Really want to answer your question. That's the best way to do so. We will get right to it. I will acknowledge, though, in terms of regular season series, I wish the series didn't have to matter as much. But these next 3 games against the New York Yankees, I mean, minimum needs to be 2 of 3. A sweep would be great because even though the Mariners are 2.5 back, they still need to make those games up in the less than 2 weeks that are exactly 2 weeks that are remaining in the season. Like, you have maybe 2 losses to work with the rest of the year. If the Twins and the Tigers play to, let's say, like an average outcome, and neither gets especially hot or especially cold, it's about 2 losses. One of those could be against the Yankees. That's about it.
Yeah. Yeah, you do not have many losses to work with. You're 100% right. You think saying losing 2 games maximum is harsh or tough? It's just reality. If you go, they have 15 games left, right?
12.
Oh, 12. Sorry. 12 games left. If you go 8-4, that's probably not enough.
No.
8-4 is not a good enough stretch to get into the playoffs here because that would put you at 84 wins. You got to do more than that. So, yeah, to say 10-2 is what they need the rest of the way, it's probably right. And by the way, one of those 2 losses probably can't be to the Astros because if you're still looking at the division, you've got to basically sweep Houston when you're in Houston.
Why don't we throw the division out of it? I don't think the Mariners will win the division this year. Doesn't seem likely.
Again, if they're within 3 going to Houston, there is a chance because if you somehow play your 3 best games of the whole year and sweep them, there is a chance.
Mhm.
So I would say not till we see what the playoff picture and division picture looks like once you get the wheels down in Houston, when those airplane wheels hit down at the Houston airport.
Mhm.
Once that happens, we'll have a better idea.
Wow,
and by the way, before you read a question,
yeah.
if you want some optimism for this Yankees series, it's not going to be easy, but they don't face Garrett Cole, who over the last couple months has gone very much back to looking like Garrett Cole after shaking the rust off when he came back healthy.
Yeah. So Seth in the YouTube chat says something I've never been referenced to me before. Said I look like an NPC in Minecraft. What? I need to see what this looks like.
I don't even know what that is.
Let's see. I'm gonna evaluate this for myself. I don't think so. A little bit too blocky for me. Do I look that square, Lyle? Does it really look like that square?
I mean, I never really thought about it much. I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Well, I appreciate it, Seth. I'm glad you're looking out for me.
Well, I think I get told I look like Pete Davidson and Christian Yelich a whole lot more than TJ gets told he looks like somebody from Minecraft.
I would take yours as more of a compliment than mine. Personally.
I have no idea if Pete Davidson's a compliment or not. I don't know. Christian Yelich, maybe.
This dude was dating Kim Kardashian.
Yeah, I guess.
I would take it as a compliment.
I guess. Anyway, well, maybe Seth has a point. Maybe you look like a Minecraft character. Who knows? I don't think so, but I've never looked at it.
Oh, he says it's my connection. Oh, well, that actually kind of makes me feel better. It's not my actual face. All right. Well, thank you, Seth.
Maybe one of these days, TJ will get better Wi-Fi. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, hopefully soon.
A couple people really want to hear about the Randy Jonah Heim stuff today, so we can answer that. This like specifically the question that I'm reading. It comes from Tap on O Daily. I'm sorry. I'm totally butchering this name. I don't. Yeah, it's something like that. KAPONODILAY. I'm sorry. Usually I'm the one that's good about reading names, but I'm botching that one. Anyway, he asks, what do you think about the talk between Randy and Jonah Heim? I think Jonah Heim was pretty soft and was being a big get off my lawn guy. I'm going to be honest.
So, for all the baseball traditionalists, I absolutely understand why people were pissed at Randy. Makes sense. But yeah, just don't think people should be getting too pissed off on bat flips anymore. As if like Randy turned around to Jonah Heim as he's walking down to first base, I don't know, pulled like a Marchand and grabbed his nuts, or was just like talking trash at Jonah Heim, that would make more sense. But if Randy doesn't even bother acknowledging the Rangers in this situation, you got to know who Randy is. Randy does this every time. The dude jogs around the bases slower than anyone on this team. How's just it's probably because I'm not playing the game anymore. Just don't really feel the emotion of getting pissed off at somebody for hitting an absolute nuke against your team and they win and they're getting really excited, and we saw the celebrations all weekend for these guys and they were all over the place. But I thought the more impressive thing was Randy, once he got hit by a pitch, just told the dugout to stay. That doesn't happen too often. Usually there's more like the guys will get out of the dugout for that, but Randy didn't seem like he wanted anything like that. Which I will say, when like Randy gets hit, he usually looks the most pissed off of anyone. That would have been the perfect situation for him to get hit and look really pissed off, and then there was some kerfuffle on the field.
I got to give Randy a lot of credit because that to me seemed like he was very, very aware of the situation, not just of the game and the series, but where the Mariners are at for the season. You cannot afford meaningful suspensions at this point in the year with 12 games to go. If Julio gets out there and starts throwing punches after the hot streak he's on, or Randy starts getting in a scuffle with somebody, or Lord knows whoever else, and guys all of a sudden are suspended, like that cannot happen at this point in the year. It cannot happen. So credit to Randy. I don't know if I've ever seen that, by the way, where so quickly he's basically like no, 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 no. Do not come out of the dugout. It's fine. I'm not mad. Let it go. Let's just ignore it. Maybe he even knew that it was coming because he didn't seem that surprised, and he probably knew how big his celebration was the previous at bat. So,
and Randy wins in that scenario because he's like, I'm in your head. Like,
right.
You're pissed at me. And you know what I feel? Nothing.
Yeah. He essentially said, I won. Like, that right there is like, we don't need to do anything else, guys. Like, we are living rent free in their head, and they just showed it. There's nothing else we need to prove.
Yeah.
So, shout out Randy. I will say, we were talking about this a little bit over text because there's been people that have talked a little bit about since Randy's been here that he doesn't always look that enthusiastic to be here in Seattle. And part of that may be the fact he's really far from home and it's a brand new organization and happened in the middle of the year and a lot of factors why it's hard to get used to such a drastic change in life like that so early. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not. It's not like he said that publicly, just some people have wondered that. I got to tell you, on that home run, he looked like he was having a lot of fun being a Seattle Mariner. And it was the same way last night when he walked it off. He picks up the Gatorade bucket and he dumps it all on his head, and then he's screaming at his own dugout and he's ferociously raising the trident, and he's I don't know, like the last couple days it feels like you've started to see Randy Arozarena start to almost find his calling here in Seattle and seem like he's really starting to enjoy the team he's playing for. Now, we can't know that for sure, but that's what it seemed like just off the public perception.
I think there's a couple ways to think about that. One, I do get it could be um you're allowed to get excited and being excited for a moment can isolate from how you feel the rest of the time. That's entirely possible. Two, Randy could express enjoyment in a day-to-day non-exciting fashion just differently than everyone else. He doesn't need to walk around and smile the whole time to be enjoying Seattle. He can express it in his own way. Maybe he is, and he's just not telling anyone. Doesn't feel comfortable enough to tell people that. That's fine. So, like, who knows? As long as he shows up to work every day and he works his hardest, and he ultimately, again, for what the Mariners want and what us fans want is for him to perform, it doesn't really matter all that much. And as we take a look at this offseason and the ideas that Ryan Divish floated out of potentially trading him to save money, him liking Seattle or not, has almost no effect on what happens in the future because either the Mariners are going to want his bat, whether he wants to be here or not, for the next 2 seasons, and they keep him, or they want to save the money and they trade him away, even if he loves it here.
Well, let's say it again about that trade idea. That cannot happen. Not it
No,
should not let's hope not. That cannot happen. And if it does, I think people are going to see consequences in the sense of like there's going to be a fan base that is very, very pissed off, looking at themselves and saying, "How are you calling this a win now window, making a move like that? You can't do it."
no, you can't do that. I want to bring up Mitch Haniger as an example. He expressed so much as he was going to free agency after the 2022 season how much he wanted to be back in Seattle. Mariners didn't even offer him, right?
Yeah.
So,
No, it's true.
like,
And
it's just not even, it's not something they really consider all that much.
yeah, and it's the same thing with Teo too. Now he didn't like the batter's eye, he didn't like hitting in the specific ballpark, but from everything it seemed, he liked the he really liked the players on the team. He liked the organization. He liked the coaches because he talked about that at the end of the season that I really love my time here. He probably just didn't like hitting in the ballpark. So same thing. Yeah, possible.
So let's get to our next question. This is on Instagram from C_Tuck6. His question is on the topic of contracts and who gets extended first, Logan Gilbert or George Kirby.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit on Friday's show because we got a mailbag question about it too. It's hard to say. I think the Mariners would love to extend both of them. I don't think the Mariners, with the way they operate as a franchise, even though they should keep both of them, they probably won't. So you're probably picking one or the other to extend. And I don't know who would be the one to extend. Whoever you think you can get the extension done with. It seems like, you know, just the way it seems, that everybody talks about how like Logan Gilbert and the Mariners are such a match made in heaven with the way they view pitching, the way he views pitching, the way he goes about his business, all that stuff. And that's not to say Kirby's not bought in, but just like Logan Gilbert has been the very, very prime example of like everything the Mariners pitching philosophy embodies about how much he changes things, how much he looks into the numbers, everything. If that really is such a match made in heaven, it would seem like he makes the most sense to try and extend. But at the end of the day, it's all going to come down to will the Mariners offer him a fair amount of money? Because he's worth about $30 million on the market right now if he was going to hit free agency. So will the Mariners pay him that?
I think if there's an extension in store, it is for Logan Gilbert. The simplest way to think about it is that he's going to hit free agency first. Therefore, there is more of a need to extend him sooner than there is for George Kirby. That's one. Two, all the things you just mentioned, personality wise and work ethic wise, of why they match up so well, and well, all those other things. I do see a comment on YouTube referencing that Kirby might be cheaper. Kirby's not, I don't think, going to be cheaper. I think they'll be worth about the same amount of money on the open market when they're free agents.
Yeah.
They will be pretty close to each other. Just think of it from a pure production standpoint. The ERAs are roughly about the same. George's has been skewed a little bit based on his rough 6-week stretch this season. But overall, like we saw it today, he still has everything he needs to go get paid and get money. Since they've debuted, these guys have made essentially every single start they've been asked to, which is the most valuable thing a pitcher can do. And they're both about the same age.
Yeah.
And will have about the same amount of innings heading to free agency. So it all sort of lines up there. So I think it's the two. If I'm making a to-do list for the Mariners, I think Logan Gilbert is first on that list.
Sure.
He's first, and then you once that is done, get it done first, and then you worry about George Kirby. Because if the worries you're only going to be able to sign one of two, well, you have Kirby for a whole extra 365 days under contract. So worry about the guy who has less first before George Kirby.
Right. Again, in an ideal world, you extend both of them. And if the Mariners operated like the Mets do, or other teams that are willing to keep a lot or like pay for a lot of guys, you keep both of them. But that might not be how they choose to do it, unfortunately.
And I see people mentioning Bryce Miller and Brian Wu. Don't have to worry about that yet. I wouldn't put too much thought into an extension for them yet.
I was going to say, guys, they're in their first year under like the real service clock. Like their service clock did not start moving until this very season. They both came up after the deadline last year, so they have a full extra year of control. So after this season, you still have 5 more years of Bryce Miller and Brian Wu. So I'm sure it's not even on their radar yet.
6, 7, 8. Like after the 2030 season is when they're free agents.
Right.
30?
Yeah.
6? No. No, 29 season. Sorry. Regardless,
Right.
a while.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, you're not worried about those guys right now. See what else we got.
So Seth adds in an actual baseball comment instead of a Minecraft comment. Thank you for this, Seth. If the Mariners could actually make the postseason, I feel like most of the fan favorite players are safe from trades. I disagree with that. I don't think making the playoffs changes the amount of investment from the franchise next season. I think they would take the postseason as a plus. They'd like it a lot. But in terms of how they're going to operate next season, them making the playoffs doesn't change the fact that root sports, or skeptical root sports is going to be a thing next year. That's going to be a major financial hit for the Mariners. And I don't think it will also change how they view the budget for next season. Because say they make the playoffs with what's the budget right now? $144 million right now. They make it. They'd sit there and think, we can make the playoffs with $144 million.
Maybe.
And what if they go deep into the playoffs?
I was going to say maybe playoff appearances and games at home rack in more money. So maybe it goes up a little bit if you have a deep playoff run and bring in a bunch of cash. But yeah, it probably doesn't change that much. But you know what? All that being said, I still don't think any of those players are all that likely to get traded. Well, I guess it depends on who you mean as a fan favorite. Could they trade one pitcher? It's possible. But like again, if it's Castillo, do you consider him a fan favorite?
It's
like
the rotation. Well, I assume he means the rotation. Cal, Julio, Randy,
Julio
Robles.
Julio is not getting traded. Let's just debunk that right now.
I know that. And Robles is also not getting traded.
Robles is not getting traded. Exactly. Just not an extension. I would be utterly shocked if Cal Raleigh went anywhere. I don't think that's happening. At least not right now, like at all. So again, like I think most of the guys are going to be safe. Like the guy I would say, I was talking to some people about this weekend too, that if somebody's going to be off the roster next year, it feels like there's a decent chance it's Luis Castillo. So yeah, if you call him a fan favorite, he may be on another team next year, whether they make the playoffs or not. But like, I don't think a bunch of these, whether they make the playoffs or not, I don't think a bunch of these guys are getting shipped out of town or anything. Like maybe you'd see one, and that's even nothing for sure.
Next question, JD Games on YouTube. Question is Garver on the roster for next year? I know he's signed for 2 years. Yes, he's going to be the backup catcher next year.
And again, he's hit lefties very well. For as tough a season as he's had, he entered today with a 122 WRC plus against lefties, and his 3-hit day with a home run is only going to pump that up a little bit because he faced Andrew Heaney today, who was a lefty. So he can still play a role. And I don't think Mitch Garver is going to have this type of year next year. I can't promise he's going to be a 140 WRC plus hitter again. But could he be an above average bat next year? It serves as your backup catcher. Maybe you mix in a DH day here and there for him. Sure. I still believe that. Like, I don't think the Mitch Garver, the hitter, is totally gone. I know it's been a really, really tough year, but I still think he can bounce back to some extent next year. So yes, he will be on the roster. He is on a 2-year deal. There's a mutual option for the 3rd year, so that'll sort itself out after 25. But yeah, he'll be here next year.
He's not going to be given the plate appearances that he got to start this year. That's not going to happen going into next year. He's going to need to really take advantage of the first month or so of next season. They'll give him 1 to 2 starts a week as the catcher or as a DH day against a really, thinking of Andrew Heaney, it's probably the perfect matchup for him. Not a whole lot of swing and miss, soft tossing lefty. Let's put him in there and let him hit. He's going to really need to take advantage of the first couple of months for next year because he's not going to get to play a lot. So when that's the case, when you do play, you're going to have to take advantage of that. as a reason to get some more at bats. Because
Right.
otherwise, if he doesn't take advantage of it, we're going to be having the same discussion next year, and he's going to be again get the same playing time he's getting about right now.
I was gonna say right now he doesn't play all that much. It's once, twice a week. So yeah, yeah, like he'll be here. You need two catchers on the roster. He's done a nice job, especially with George. He's been George's catcher now a lot of the year, and yeah, he can definitely play a role. Let's see what else we got.
Solomon on Instagram says the Mariners should trade for Yohan Duran. Like, I'm down. Are the
Sure,
Twins going to do that?
I doubt it.
Be nice. Let's offer them Edward Brizardo.
Sure,
And let's reclaim Sebi and send him along.
I'm down.
Once he
So
gets
then,
outrighted. Once he gets outrighted.
so then your bullpen next year is Yohan Duran, Andres Munoz, Matt Brash, and Gregory Santos.
If they're healthy, yes, that sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah, I'm down.
The Twins take that deal. We'll take the money too.
Add well, you can add Troy Taylor into the mix too, which by the way, I feel like that's gone way under the radar. Oh, and Colin Snyder, because those guys have been very good. That's totally gone under the radar. Troy Taylor's been great since he's been called up.
Mm-hmm.
He's now pitching in leverage for them.
He's pretty good at baseball.
Yeah,
and you
I
do
agree.
that like and the you jump from Everett to Arkansas and there's no drop off. It's like, all right, let's give you a chance in the big leagues. Let's see how you get. I'm wondering if he has, even as a reliever, much of a repertoire involvement for next season. He doesn't have to. He's already got a pretty unique mix because he throws like this four-seamer that turns essentially into a sinker, which is unique in and of itself. It's hard. And he's got that sweeper that works pretty well. So doesn't need to, but I'd be curious to see that. Derek sent us a super chat. The question is, call our shots. Will the Mariners make the playoffs? Yes or no?
I hate to be the wet blanket, but I don't think so. No.
I'm going to say no as well. The Fangraphs odds are what, 5%?
Is it still that low? Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't checked the obviously since they're it feels like they're out of it, even with a tiny bit of hope left. Where are these playoff odds? I'm gonna say it's like 5%.
That's fine.
It's just like the tiebreaker thing is really, really tricky. The fact that like it looks like when you look at the wild card race, just on a base perspective, it looks realistic. It looks like they can do it. But they have to gain an extra game than everyone else. They need to finish with a better record than the Tigers and the Twins. Can't be tied. It needs to be better.
Right.
Can they get that extra game?
That's why I still think the division, even though it's 4.5 games versus 2.5, still might be easier because you have the tiebreaker over the Astros. You have 3 more games against the Astros, and you don't need the extra game. Because really right now it's 3.5 to get the wild card spot and 4.5 to get Houston. You don't play the Tigers or Twins again. You do play the Astros.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
I wish I had some more optimism. I really did.
Yeah, I do too. And you know what? I hope they prove us wrong. I hope everything we've said about how they aren't going to make the playoffs is fuel that they have used to shove it right in our faces, because that would be awesome. And I hope they do. Do we want to talk any free agents here at all for a minute? Because there's people in here asking some questions about it.
Sure.
Well, there's one on YouTube that I saw and then one on Instagram. One is from Little Red on YouTube. He says, do you sign or think of signing Tommy Edman or Alex Bregman? Yeah, I would love to sign Alex Bregman. That's not happening, but I'd love to. Yeah.
Alex Bregman would be a pretty good fit. Hey, Bleacher Report was in on it too.
What
Don't
are they
know where
talking
they came
about
up with that list, but put the Mariners first. In terms of what the Mariners need, they were right. In terms of where he's actually going to land, was dead wrong.
What are the odds Alex Bregman saw that graphic and just started laughing his ass off?
If he saw it, 100%.
Scott Boras doesn't let free agents sign here. He also, we're pretty sure, doesn't seem like Scott Boras exactly loves the Mariners. So if he has a chance to get Alex Bregman paid elsewhere, he probably will. Also, and this is another problem with how the Mariners operate at times. They don't get in bidding wars. They say, "Hey, here's our offer. If you don't take it, we're not changing our offer. It's this is what we're going to give you." And I think that costs them at times because for the big free agents, for the big fish, you have to fight for them. They do not get in bidding wars, and you know what? They should. Now, I'm not saying they need to get in one for Alex Bregman because I have my own concerns about what he will look like in 5 years, assuming he gets about a 5-year deal. Like even some of his peripherals, like his batted ball numbers say, like what's he, what are the next couple years even gonna look like for the guy? But should you be getting in bidding wars for the right guys? Yes, but they don't.
Bidding war for Juan Soto?
Yes.
Yes.
And somebody, Lane asked on Instagram, second free agent question, do they move Crawford to third base or second base to pursue Willy Adames? This is the same story. Willy Adames should absolutely be on their free agent target list, but they're not going to pay him what he's worth. At least all of their actions and how they have operated as a franchise since this regime took over says they're not going after a guy like that. Look, Willy Adames is not, he's not Carlos Correa offensively at shortstop. He's not Bobby Witt offensively at shortstop. He's not Gunnar Henderson. He's not those type of bats. Is he valuable? Yeah, because he plays really good defense and he puts up enough offense. Like you could draw some comparisons to him and is Ha-Seong Kim a good comparison because he racks up a high WAR with his defense, but isn't like the greatest bat?
He's a decent bat.
He's decent. That's like what Adames is. He's decent.
I think a lot of people, though, would be really skeptical of a decent bat coming here.
Right.
I really think so. And you want someone to be a decent bat here, but if Willy Adames is a decent bat in Milwaukee, what is he when he plays in this park?
Right. Or I guess you could use Dansby Swanson as a comp too.
Yeah.
Ha-Seong Kim or Dansby Swanson in the sense of
Yeah.
good bat, not a great bat, but great defender, got money because he racks up a lot of WAR defensively.
Like if the Mariners paid Dansby Swanson what the Cubs paid him, the Mariners they'd like the defense, but they would need him to hit because the problem with this team, they're not the best team defensively, but they need offense. Dansby Swanson, even this year playing in Chicago, has been a below average hitter offensively.
Mm-hmm.
So you need players who you think can come here and be above average hitters. For a lot of these guys they've tried to bring in, it has not been the case over the course of a full season. It's unfortunate, but their projections on just above average hitting have been poor, and they need to find a way to sort of rectify that. Like Willy Adames was traded because he couldn't hit in Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was a thing. He was great on the road, but legit could not hit at the Trop. What's it going to be when he comes here?
It's a rare trade the Rays whiffed on. They don't whiff on a lot of trades.
Yeah.
I don't even remember who they got back in that trade. Do you?
For Adames?
I'll look it up.
So while you look that up, there's we got another super chat on YouTube, and this is a Kirby trade suggestion. Frodo T. Baggins said it. He said Kirby for Westberg and Heston Kjerstad.
I got to be honest, that I know those guys are both. I know Westberg's great. He was an all-star. He's also good friends with Bryce Miller. And I know Heston Kjerstad, when he's been in the big leagues, has been really good. I still wonder if that's lowballing a George Kirby trade.
It might be. I think it might be. But I also think a package like that would be the best possible package you could get if you traded a starter.
Does it
What's
have
worth
to be
more? What's worth more? So we talked about this on the podcast. Is a combination deal of Westberg and Heston Kjerstad worth more than Jarren Duran?
Duran's more proven than both of those guys?
Yeah, he is.
I don't know.
But what's
now
worth
again?
More? An outfielder and an infielder.
Yeah, it's you know what, we probably need to preface this again because we did it on the podcast too. We are talking about Jarren Duran, the player, just
Correct.
The player. If you are a person and you have a problem with what he has said, that again, totally warranted. We're simply just talking about who Duran is as a player, and as a player, I feel like I might. Well, I would say I feel like I'd lean toward Duran, but the Mariners' outfield's already kind of set up. I think you need infielders. I think you got to look at teams with infielders. Could you get
Just
now? Here's an idea. Could you get Westberg and Mayo both from the Orioles? You would essentially lose both of your third basemen if you're Baltimore, but maybe Mayo could play first.
well, if they were going to trade Randy to save money, that would open up a spot for Kerstad.
Well, again, they cannot do that. Like,
Well, they
I am
cannot do that, but they very well might in an effort to save money.
okay,
The reason they would be trading these pitchers to save money.
the pitcher.
The pitcher thing is to save money. It's because they can't afford them.
I think it's more about they don't know. They refuse to actually spend in free agency on real bats, and they think this is the only way to get offense. And they think they can supplement the loss of a pitcher with what they have in their system, whether it's Emerson, whether it's Logan Evans, whether it's Brandon Garcia. Maybe in 2026, we're talking about Durangelo. I think that's more about what it is. That is your only way to find offense for this team without grossly overpaying in free agency, which they won't do. The Randy thing, that is when we're talking about right here is how are the Mariners going to get better to win a World Series and like compete for a World Series in 2025? Because trading Randy Arozarena takes you as far backward as you could imagine to do that. So I'm not even factoring that in here because if that happens, that's going to be an entirely separate conversation where I absolutely unleash fury on this podcast and on this live stream.
I think both things can be true when it comes to trading a pitcher. I think I also just don't think they want to pay multiple pitchers the amount of money Gilbert and Kirby will cost in arbitration. I think that is absolutely true.
Maybe.
So like the Kerstad thing would make more sense if they trade Randy. But if Kobe Mayo and Westberg were on the table, that is certainly tempting. Like, not wrong. Not wrong. That is very tempting. Kerstad is more proven at the big league level. We don't know what Kobe Mayo is as a big leaguer.
No, but he gets comps to Austin Riley. He hit the ball like crazy.
And Jared Kelenic got comps to 5 tool players, and look how that worked out. Well, he was a better prospect.
Yeah, he was. Mayo. I mean, we're splitting hairs here. Mayo's in the top 10 of a lot of rankings. So, and I'll say this: he has had more time in the minors than Jared did. He is more advanced as a hitter than Jared is.
We can say all these things, and it still doesn't matter because we haven't seen it.
Yeah, no, I know, but if you're talking, we're just talking about a potential trade package. That right there gives you the chance to solve both of your corner infield solutions for like potential vacancies for a long time, and you could still supplement with somebody else pitching wise. Because if there's one thing the Mariners do, they develop pitchers. So that might give you a chance to set up both your corner infield spots for a long time.
While the upside and the fit is better, the risk is significantly higher if you try that.
Yeah, it is. Again, they should just sign free agents, but they won't do that.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it all boils down to. That's what it all boils down to. Stop giving up big league stars or prospects. Just pay the cash. Come on, dude. Okay. We can move on.
What are some things here? Jarren Duran would need a tennis racket hitting at T-Mobile Park. Well, can we work that into the rules? How many home runs is Judge hitting this upcoming series? At least 2. Do you have a different number?
Yeah, it sounds about right.
I think he's been in the upper deck every time he's played in Seattle.
Yeah, although you know what? He's been on a pretty cold stretch as of late.
Except for the homer he hit today.
Oh, actually, and then he hit one yesterday too. Well, okay, before the last couple days, he was on a very cold stretch. Let me look this up. I'm not lying. I'm not like crazy when I'm saying I'm making this up. What has he done in his last like 15 games?
It probably hasn't been very good. He's been on 3 weeks. I think it's been a pretty crazy cold stretch. That's why he's probably not breaking his record anymore.
Yeah, no, he's not. However, he's still going to win the MVP.
Yeah, as he should.
Yeah.
And Bobby Witt's been on the cold streak in the same time. So
Yeah. Well, maybe we can find one more question before we wrap up. Yeah, again, like let's wrap up with this, people, before we take one more question. The Mariners in a perfect scenario should be like absolutely keeping all 5 of these starters, saying they're not available. It's not like we're not moving any of these guys. These are our guys. This is our rotation. We're the best rotation in the league. We're just going to go sign guys in free agency or trade prospects for big league caliber bats and win that way. But unfortunately, with the way they operate, it has been forced into these conversations for us to have to throw out things like this, and it shouldn't be that way. They should just go spend the money or trade prospects. But here we are. Like, if it was up to me, everybody in the rotation stays because I am nervous about the idea of trading a pitcher. As good as the Mariners, as well as the Mariners develop guys, I do not want any of these 5 guys traded. So, yeah, it's ridiculous. Anyway,
Let's find like a different subject. Does anyone have a different subject question for us to finish on?
let's see.
Something besides the Yankee series and trading a pitcher.
My friend Kevin asked, we won't use this as the final question, but a while back, my friend Kevin asked, are we going to get Framber Valdez in the Astros series? I'd have to go like look and line it up. I don't know exactly how Houston's rotation is going to shake out in that series, but I think we'll find out here soon enough. Let's see what else we've got. Favorite baseball movie? You want to do that to wrap up? My friend Noah
Yeah,
asked.
we can finish that. Do we have the same answer?
Well, what's yours?
Moneyball.
Yeah, I mean, Moneyball's great. I love so many baseball movies. I can never decide what my favorite baseball movie is. Like, I almost want to make a top 5 or a Mount Rushmore, but like, if I was gonna pick a favorite, I mean, Bull Durham is great. Like, I like Major League. I don't know if that's my favorite one. Moneyball's great, but like, like A League of Their Own. I really like. Like that one's honestly high up there for me too. It's probably one of those 3: Moneyball, Bull Durham, or A League of Their Own. I'll say Bull Durham to be different than you, just because
All right.
the thing about Bull Durham is it paints such a clear picture of what the minor leagues are really like. Now it's still a movie, but they do a pretty good job like painting the picture of what it's like to be a minor league baseball player. It's very well done. Like they get it close to spot on. So, yeah, I think you'll hear a lot of players say that. You hear a lot of players talk about how they love the movie Bull Durham for that reason. Like, feels pretty relatable. Somebody said 8 Men Out, which I always say is the most underrated baseball movie ever because Field of Dreams gets all the hype in terms of the story told about the 1919 White Sox. But Field of Dreams is so much more of a fictional story, and it's a good movie, but it's a fictional story. 8 Men Out actually really details what that cheating scandal was like and taking money from the gamblers and throwing games and all of it. It's not talked about enough. That's a really good movie. So you can tell.
I'd say The Sandlot is 2. I see Sandlot in there.
Oh, that's another. See, this is the problem. I love so many baseball movies. I could go on a tangent about this. Also, while we're on this topic, there hasn't been a baseball movie made in a long time. I think we need another.
So what was the last real baseball movie? Was it
I think Moneyball.
42?
Yeah, 42 or Moneyball.
Yeah, I think 42 came out more recently.
Maybe a couple years after Moneyball.
Yeah, but I think that was it.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, it's crazy. Also, since we never got
project for the directors here.
Yeah. Give us a baseball movie. Oh, also last thing, because we never answered the question. Willie Adames and Trevor Richards were traded from the Rays to the Brewers in exchange for Drew Rasmussen and JP Fireeisen. So the Rays got some value back in that trade, but I would still say the Brewers getting Willie Adames, they probably won it.
Yeah, so. I would agree with that. And that should put a bow tie here on this live stream. Appreciate all of you guys tuning in. Reminder to follow us on all of our social media platforms at Marine Layer Pod on Twitter, on TikTok, on Instagram. Find us on YouTube. Look for the teal logo, Marine Layer Podcast. Make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Find us wherever you get your podcasts as well. And we'll see you guys next week right at 7 o'clock for, I think, our penultimate live stream of the season. Uh-oh. You guys don't want to be there. We'll talk to you guys then. See ya.